This is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
Five-ish Fangirls, I love you, and I'm one of the five-ish. In fact, I'm the biggest one of the five-ish. I am the Sixth Doctor Colin Baker, and I wish you all well. Have fun.
The tangents and squee continue all the way to episode number 13 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. It's murder, all of them. I don't know how. And they're not suicides, they're killings. Serial killings. We've got ourselves a serial killer. Love those. There's always something to look forward to. Welcome everyone to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. As always, let's start off by going around the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
This is Brittany from Taos.
This is Chrissy from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
Michelle from Kitchener, Ontario.
This is Rachel from Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone. And let's start off the show appropriately by wishing Holly a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Holly!
Thank you.
You'll forgive us if we don't sing.
Yeah.
That's
Actually, you would be happy that we don't sing.
Yeah.
At least
Wait.
It's not because happy birthday is under copyright, because it's not. It's just you don't want to hear us sing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't record our joint watching / sing along of Frozen for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. But we are all together. I guess we should start by apologizing for missing a week. Unfortunately, life happened in probably one of the worst possible ways. I was trapped in the vortex known as the ER last week. If you follow me on Twitter and or Instagram, you saw that I was in the ER on Labor Day with severe abdominal and back pain, and turns out it was my gallbladder. So I am now awaiting to have said gallbladder removed, but I am feeling much better thanks to modern medicine, aka drugs. So at the moment I'm well enough to hop back on the recording bandwagon. But if y'all think, when you listen to this, if you listen to this before this coming Wednesday, think of me on Wednesday, because that's when this shall be coming out. Knock on wood. So.
Yes, and we hasten to add that they are legally prescribed drugs.
Yes.
That you're on. Your doctor gave you to feel better and not feel like you're going to die.
Yes. Yes. So, don't do drugs unless they're given to you by a doctor. Yeah. But even though we did miss a week, we are going to jump right into it, and we've got some fun stuff to cover this week. We've got some news and also some convention recaps as well, which I'm very excited to hear about. So let's jump straight into news.
All right, our first bit of news is Once Upon a Time related. Maleficent will be returning in Season 4. Kristen Bauer von Straten has booked a return trip to Once Upon a Time. The Troubadour alum will reprise her dastardly role as villain Maleficent during the second half of Once Upon a Time's upcoming season. Could this mean that Maleficent will be Season 4's other big villain after the Frozen storyline? It's unclear as of now, but Bauer will be back as a recurring guest star for a big arc. So here's hoping this means the show will dive more into her past as well as Aurora's history. Last we saw Maleficent, she was locked away in a cave under the clock tower, stuck in dragon form until she was slain by Emma in Season 1 finale. She then came back as the nightmarish zombie form at the end of Season 2. And then there are also a couple of TV promos for Season 4 that we will have in the links to the show notes. Mm-hmm. So this should be interesting.
And several of those promos killed Tumblr.
Yeah.
In the best possible way.
Mm-hmm. My favorite is still the first one. My favorite is the bit, because you see Elsa walking through Storybrooke and she's just freezing everything, and you see everybody in their fairy tale forms, but as she's walking by, leaving her trail of ice, there's Regina with Emma, and Regina's all like, "Here we go again," and Emma's just all like, "Really?"
Yeah, and if you watch the show, you know exactly how Jennifer Morrison is saying, "Really?"
Yeah.
Because that's just how, that's like perfectly all in character, and
Yeah.
it looked great. I was home over Labor Day, and me and my sister squealed over it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and then there've been a couple more promos. They had one that aired during the Story of Frozen special that was on right after Labor Day.
Oh
So
yeah, that one sent Tumblr for
yeah,
loop.
yeah.
Oh yeah, oh baby.
So
Especially the Rumbell shippers.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
The scene
Captain
that we were
Swan
hoping for is
shippers.
gonna happen.
Oh yes. And the Captain
Don't
Swan
think I've
shippers
had a
have just been
chance to
partying
watch that
since
one
May.
yet, unfortunately.
Well, the links will be on the show notes, so everybody
Mhm.
can.
Well, I have the links here in the Google Doc. I just haven't had a chance to actually look.
little bit of once stuff to tide you over for a couple more weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So
Alright. So, are we all done with Once Upon a Time for the moment?
yep.
Okay,
A little bit.
so I have next news, which should please all Whovians that play Minecraft.
Glenn.
Doctor Who.
Sorry. Glenn.
Glenn, this is for you. Although he probably already knows.
Oh,
But
yeah.
go on.
I was
Well,
gonna
they
say.
discussed it on their last episode, didn't they?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn was quite excited.
Yes.
But we'll
Anyway.
be excited for him too.
Yes.
Continue.
Doctor Who will be available in the game of Minecraft. From September 2014, Minecraft players will have access to a range of Doctor Who assets which will allow them to change the avatar to resemble their favorite characters from the show. The first pack will include a character inspired by the 12th Doctor, as well as 5 other Doctors, each of their own screen companions and some of the Doctor's most well-known adversaries, including his arch-nemesis, the Dialogues. I said that wrong. The deal will bring more packs as time goes on, introducing many of the most recognizable characters from the past 50 years of Doctor Who. Each skin pack will feature at least 6 Doctors and released regularly following the broadcast of the first episode. So.
Sounds about like what Doctor Who Legacy's been doing
Mm-hmm.
with releasing episode-themed content. So, yay, Minecraft.
Yes, none of us play it, but this gave a little more incentive to at least check it out, for me at least.
Yep. Speaking of the Doctor Who in the first episode,
Yeah, sorry.
we have some face palm news.
Yeah.
Doctor Who
Not
will
even sure.
not be investigated after complaints about Baxter and Jenny's quote-unquote kiss in Deep Breath. A spokesman for Ofcom said Ofcom confirmed that it received 6 complaints about the kiss broadcast in an episode of Doctor Who on Saturday the 23rd of August. Having assessed the complaints, we can confirm that they do not raise issues warranting further investigations. Our rules do not discriminate between scenes involving opposite sex and same-sex couples. So,
Can I just say something? I don't know how things work in the UK, but 6 complaints, and this made the news? Really? We're going to talk about this? That's awesome.
Slow news day?
Yeah.
Could have been.
Yeah.
But
I won't repeat my rant that I said pre-recording, but just I'm shaking my head seriously.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's funny about this headline is "kiss" is in quotes, but actually I think complaints ought to be in quotes
Yeah.
because I'm just like,
Yeah.
like why 6 people
Yeah.
why?
It's just funny because at least where I first saw the news, the headline from the website says Doctor Who, which if you know anything about Doctor Who, you know it's science fiction. But if you didn't, it says Doctor Who will not be investigated after Saturday's controversial lesbian lizard kiss received complaint. The fact that the word lizard is in the headline.
No.
Clickbait. That's all I gotta say anymore.
Yes.
Clickbait.
It's like, it's science fiction, people. She's a lizard. Get over it.
There's one thing Doctor Who fans know how to do. It's complain.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
I would like to think that the people that made these complaints are not really fans, that they're just people with way too much time on their hands.
And who just happened to stumble upon that said moment in time.
Yes.
Yep.
People in.
Yeah, I think any time that anything gets really popular, you're gonna have that little pool of trolls that just likes to come on and say, "Oh, you like this thing, so it's popular? Well, I'm gonna pretend to be a fan and hate it and make you mad because I can do that because I don't like fun and I don't like people being happy and I don't think that you all should like anything. So here, I'm gonna ruin everybody's fun." Which Doctor Who is kind of a target for that. Right. Harry Potter was back in the day. Hunger Games and everything. Anything that's popular, it will have its share of detractors.
Yeah. Every party has a pooper.
And that's why we didn't invite you.
Yes.
Anyway,
in less face-palmy news, we also have, speaking of teasers, we also have a teaser for the new season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's you see you see some snippets of stuff that happened in the first season, and then we also get some glimpses of the team as to where they will be in season 2, with Coulson giving this voiceover about how, the enemy, Hydra, is, out there in the open, and the best thing for S.H.I.E.L.D. to do is to go underground and do their work that way. And Coulson says something along the lines of, we'll keep doing what we're doing, fighting the enemy, saving people's lives, even if they don't know we're doing it. So it's going to be interesting because Coulson has been given, the keys to the estate, as it were, and has been named head of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. He is now Director Coulson, and now it is his job to take his formerly ragtag team, and still a ragtag because heck knows what's going to happen with Grant Ward. His band of loyal S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and trying to take out this threat that is Hydra, but they don't know who they can trust really at this point except each other, and they're a small team against this big bad organization, and it's an uphill battle is what they've got looking towards for season 2. So it'll be interesting, but I'm excited for it to come back. So I've missed seeing Coulson on my screen every week.
I've missed so much this summer. I'm ready for summer, for the summer hiatus or summer break, if hiatus gives you hives, to be over. I just remember having Glenn on a couple weeks ago, and I said hiatus, and he's like, "Don't say hiatus to a Who fan." I'm like, "Oh, right."
Yeah.
Which I have a new term for that, thanks to Colin Baker, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
In the meantime, our last bit of news is Marvel related still, and it is Guardians of the Galaxy is the highest grossing film in the U.S. for 2014. It says Guardians. Oh yes, cheer! Woo!
Guardians! Star-Lord!
Hooray! All right, Guardians of the Galaxy has become the #1 film at the U.S. box office in 2014. It has now overtaken Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and the Lego Movie to achieve that feat. The film's current total stands at $274 million in the U.S., and it is expected to be the first movie this year to break $300 million in America, and good for a movie in August that everyone was like, what the heck are the Guardians of the Galaxy when it first came out, but... You know, we've discussed the movie a little bit here and there, and I wrote up a review of it on my blog, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I kind of knew I was going to love it. I was going to go see it just because it's Marvel, and I got to see all of them. Mm-hmm. I'm a bit like Rachel in that regard. Mm-hmm. And, like when we talked about it back at, however when it was, we talked about Marvel stuff. But I just did not expect that I would love it as much as I did, and it's... very well earned, very well deserved. It's a fantastic movie, and it shows that Marvel has the winning formula. I mean, they make a fun superhero space opera movie that has pop culture references, and a talking tree and a talking raccoon, and the baby version of the tree dancing at the end to Jackson 5. I mean, come on. I mean, that was like, okay, I'll talk, but like at Comic-Con, the #1 thing everybody wanted to find was a bobblehead of Baby Groot. You couldn't find it to save your life. I even looked for it and I couldn't find it, and I was just like, well, there's always the internet. But yeah, everybody, I had a couple of friends that I know from work. I saw them and they're like, yeah, I'm still looking for a Groot bobblehead, and I'm just like, good luck. I found Elsa, but I didn't find Groot.
Even everybody else is looking for a dancing Groot.
Yep. There was fan art of him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have where to put that. But anyway, yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy is awesome. We already knew that, but now the box office knows it. So, Marvel, whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
You're awesome.
Mm-hmm. I'll keep giving you my money.
Yep. And we want Awesome Mixtape Volume 2.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I can have that on repeat.
Oh.
So I've had Awesome
I found some news. Can I say something real quick?
Oh, we have breaking news. Breaking news. This just in.
Yeah. It has to do with one of our favorite actors, the wonderful Tom Hiddleston. Apparently, over the weekend, he crashed a music festival in Michigan where he performed the Hank Williams classic "Move It On Over."
Nice.
And I have the link. I'll put in the.
I hope there's
blog.
video.
It has a video of him, and I want to watch it, but I'll wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
the same thing you're looking at now.
When the news broke that Tom was going to be playing Hank Williams Sr., we did mention it, and we were, you know, wondering if he could pull it off. So I guess this will be our first preview of Tom singing country and western, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, I was just like, I saw it, like, I have to say something.
Well, yeah, because we talked about it in one of our very first episodes.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yay, Tom Hiddleston.
Yep.
Plus, you can never have enough Tom Hiddleston on your social media. So, that's it for news. We don't really have any feedback per se, but we do want to put a thank you out there to Who Brannigan, who has been a follower and listener since episode number 1. They are our first official supporter on Patreon. So a huge thank you for opening up your wallet to us. So.
Yes, he was one of our first followers on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and he's been tweeting out some very nice things. So thank you so much. Yeah. You're awesome too.
Yeah. So
we love all of our
huge
listeners.
Thank you to that. Yes, we love all our listeners, all the warm fuzzies to everybody. So we're going to now jump into a couple convention recaps. You probably remember both Michelle mentioning that she was going to be going to Fan Expo Canada, and Chrissy went to Salt Lake Comic Con. To make this easiest, I think we'll just go in the order that things occurred. So we'll start with Michelle, and she can tell us all about Fan Expo Canada.
All right. So I went up Thursday morning. Drove to my friend's house in Oakville and took the train in to Toronto. And when I volunteered. So when I was signing in at the volunteer room, I got a flag down that there was a slot available volunteer for the shift for the Doctor Who special event on Saturday night. So, and the person who was responsible for that knew I was a Doctor Who fan, so she flagged me down like, "You want to do this shift?" And like, yeah, because I hadn't bought a ticket for the event. It was a special ticketed event. You had to buy a ticket to get in, but the volunteers that volunteered for that shift got in for free. So I was like, "Yes, sign me up. I'm so there." So I didn't have a shift on the Thursday afternoon when I went in, so I was able to just wander the floor, look at stuff. Went to the Ray Park panel, and Chrissy, I see now why you recommended it so highly. Ray Park is
very good,
amazing.
Yeah, he's one of those that you wouldn't think of until you actually went to his panel. And this is pretty good.
So I now pass that recommendation on to all of our listeners. And if he does what he did when I saw him, I would recommend having a toy lightsaber on you. Because he brought, at the end of his panel, he let a bunch of kids come up and was like showing them some of his moves. Like, with the lightsaber and stuff, but because there weren't that many toy lightsabers in the crowd, he had to like get rolled up posters and stuff, and some of the kids had to sit it out because he didn't get enough to go. So bring a toy lightsaber just in case he does it when you see him.
I think he did that. He did that at Comic-Con last year, so he might do it every time. He brings up a bunch of kids and shows them moves and stuff.
So try and have a toy lightsaber on you just in case.
Put it on your con checklist.
Yeah. So,
how awesome would it be to be taught some moves from Darth Maul?
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Not much on Thursday. That was the major thing on Thursday. This is over a week ago, so bear with me while I try and remember.
Well, you could always skip ahead to the important bit. The photo. Yes.
Yeah, it was that reminds me. Matt Smith's panel was on Friday morning at 11, and I lined up like an hour in advance and found out that there were already a lot of people in there because I ended up getting seated off to the far left of the room, so I didn't go line up as soon as I got there, which I probably should have. But that was fun, especially and the sort of tradition of handing actors who play the Doctors speeches from other actors, other Doctors. Well, Matt Smith got handed Sylvester McCoy's final speech from Survival.
Oh, cool.
And he put his glasses on to read it, and it was so cute. So I got some pictures. They're not terribly good because of where I was sitting, but we can put those up so you can take a look at them, even though they're not very good. They're the best I could get from where I was sitting, basically. So
yeah, so sometimes based on where you're sitting, you can't get good ones, but at least you were there.
Yeah, and they had screens up, so I took some pictures of the screens, which aren't the best way to take pictures. Like, when you're in person, they're fine. Pictures, not so much. So, and then my volunteer shift was in the afternoon, and I told my team leader, being in my first shift, can I switch shifts, because I had a Saturday afternoon shift as well, which would have overlapped the special event shift. So I asked her if I could switch to a morning shift on Saturday, so I could start right away as soon as I got to the convention, volunteer in the morning, do some stuff in the afternoon, and then volunteer for the special event. So, did that, and had a rough time getting Matt Smith's autograph in the afternoon after my photo op, because the other reason I wanted to switch was because I had a photo op at 1 p.m. and my shift was supposed to have started at 1:30, so that wouldn't have worked. So I got up at 12, so I could just to make sure I could get over there in time and get lined up for the photo op. And it was so cool. Even though I had to wait quite a bit in line, and there was a huge line after me, which I got a picture of that we can post as well. I got in there, and I was wearing my I had this T-shirt that I wear for all my Doctor Who photo ops, but my my name badge was pinned to the suspenders for my cosplay. So I wore those over top of my shirt, and when I got in there, Matt was like, "Cool braces." Yeah, that was very cool, very nice. It's so cool. I love him.
He looks like he's just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I got his autograph on the 11 Doctors photo that I bought last year when Colin Baker was at Fan Expo. So I have to sign that. So, 5 down, 3 to go. And the 3 to go are the hardest 3 to get, because they're, yeah. It's Tom Baker, Christopher Eccleston, and David Tennant. Tom doesn't travel outside of England.
Yep.
Christopher Eccleston, I don't think, goes to conventions, and
No.
David Tennant is really busy working. So
David Tennant at a convention would cause a small nuclear explosion, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone when I was standing in line for Colin Baker, I was standing in line for Colin Baker, and someone mentioned, "What if they ever got David Tennant?" And I was like, I think the Comic-Con would blow up to nuclear proportions.
Yeah.
You think the lines are bad now?
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm hoping that if I ever do see him, that it's at Galley, because Galley is small and controlled. And
That's true.
Yeah.
it's probably my best bet for not waiting hours in line to see David Tennant.
Yeah, that's true. Although, well, no, yeah, they're pretty. Galley is pretty controlled with the numbers and stuff. So and David Tennant is the kind of guy who would like to go to conventions.
He wanted to go, but one year
he's always working.
Last year, but it conflicted with his work schedule.
Yeah. Which it's kind of an interesting dilemma. It's like you want your favorite people making your favorite things, but at the same time you'd like to meet them as well. So it's like, which would you rather have?
Yeah. Well,
both are good. Either way, we win.
The waiting and liking, I got when I went out in Matt Smith's autograph line on Friday, and I was in there for like half an hour. So, more. So that was interesting. And then getting Matt Smith's autograph on Saturday was interesting because I went after my photo op. So I think I got there around 2 and got told to come back in an hour. Went away, did some stuff. Came back. I think I got David Morrissey's autograph at that time because he was there for Walking Dead, but I got it on a Doctor Who picture. And he signed it, The Next Doctor.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Nice.
Which I thought was kind of cheeky considering David Tennant's actual successor was like 5 tables away.
Well, he was a bit of a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he's still capitalizing on it.
Hey, if the shoe fits.
Seriously.
Or the Sonic fits, I guess.
I went back to Matt Smith's autograph line at 3 and got told that it had been capped for now. Like, I think he was back, but there was like, his line was full, like, with like, there was like 200 people.
Wow.
So, and the volunteer there told me, it told me, come back in an hour. I'm like, but I'm volunteering for this special event, and my shift starts at 4. So, I can't really, that won't really work. So she said, because you're a volunteer, if you come back at 4, I'll let you go to the front of the line, kind of thing. So, I did some more stuff, and then I checked in to the volunteer room and told them that this volunteer made me the promise of that, like, I wanted to go get Matt Smith's autograph, and that it wouldn't take very long because I'd been promised that I could go right to the front of the line. So, I was able to do that, get Matt Smith's autograph on, like, 4 things. And 2 of them were things that I had already gotten, like, the things that I had gotten signed at this past galley, and they'd been personalized. So Matt Smith saw that, and he also personalized.
Nice.
Nice.
So it was this one from The Death of the Doctor that I gotten signed by Katie Manning.
Mm.
So he personalized it, and he put a little heart by my name. And
Aww.
And then the one from Arthur Darvill, which I signed at Galley. So I'm sure I can take some pictures of what the stuff I got autographed and post those too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
See those.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then I volunteered at the special event and spent 2 hours organizing the line.
Oh, lovely.
Because there was like 2,000, probably more than 1,000 or 2 people. Because the team leader was send down the next 100 bronze ticket holders. Send them the next, okay, and then 100 people come down. We would put them where they were supposed to go, like in the line that they were supposed to be in. Okay, send down the next 100, and then the blue ticket holders. So that, because there was 4 tiers. There was gold, which was capped at 50 gold tickets. That was like a $700 ticket. And it came with like all this extra stuff on top of the actual event. And then there was silver, bronze, and blue. So gold, if they came down, were allowed to go right into the auditorium. Silver were sent to the front door, like down the hall to where the lines would ultimately go in. Bronze were sent down the hall to, like, because there was these escalators that you had to come down. So bronze were sent down to escalators to the down the hall to the left of the escalators, and then we didn't even see the blue ticket holders for the longest time. They were being kept upstairs. So, and when they were finally allowed to come down, they were sent to the hall, into the hall, straight down from straight. They walked straight through from the escalators and formed a line down that hall. So it was like, ugh, a lot of people, and there's like, just point. I was just pointing. Okay, you have this color. You go here. This color, go here. So I did that for about 2 hours, and then they all got filed into the auditorium. And then once all the ticket holders were in, the volunteers were able to go in and stand at the back. And it was so cool because it was supposed to be Matt Smith, Karen Gillan, and Arthur Darbo, but Karen had to cancel because she was, I think, too tired from her current project, Selfie. So it was just Matt Smith and Arthur Darbo, but even so, it was amazing. They sang Bohemian Rhapsody.
Nice.
Cool.
Someone asked about the whole Karen and the Babes thing and asked them to sing something, and they sang Bohemian Rhapsody, and I got a video of most of it. So
You need to post that.
Yes, we'll post that.
I as soon as I realized that they were singing, I got out my iPod and got it and started filming it. But it was yeah, it was amazing. Just I was glad to be able to get in, even if I had to stand at the back for the entire time.
Yeah, I would too.
Hey, at least you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I jumped at. That's why I signed up for the shift when the opportunity was presented to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't blame you at all.
So was the special event? Was it just like a Q&A session, or what? I mean, what was it?
Basically a Q&A.
Oh, okay.
With both of them, and then and then the 50 people who bought the gold tickets got a photo op, I think, and an autographed thing.
Oh, okay.
And all this stuff. So
That's cool.
Yeah. So
Sounds
it was Teddy and AJ, the hosts of this talk show Inner Space. Canadian listeners will know what I'm talking about. It's on Space Channel. It's a daily talk show about the programs on Space Channel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So they talked to the guys, talked to Matt and Arthur a bit at the beginning, and then they went into the crowd and they got the questions. They went to people who, they brought the mics directly to the people who had questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way
and
to
at
do
the
it.
end, Matt Smith was leaving that night, so he had taken his sign from the celebrity autograph area, signed it, and he gave it away at the end of the panel.
Nice.
Neat.
So that was wow! It's just
You said I know what you're feeling, Michelle.
Yeah.
I know what you're feeling.
Me too.
Just wow, just being able to be there in the same room as them is
It is the greatest thing, isn't it?
It
Yep.
is. Although I wish I could.
And Holly and I are just sitting here being
I wish I
very
could have gotten a
jealous.
bumper for the podcast. And the thing is, with Arthur, I had the perfect opportunity because I before I knew Karen had canceled it, I bought this other print of like this the Power 3 poster promo thing, and that's why I got Matt Smith to sign on the Friday when I was in line for more than half an hour. And then on Saturday, I got Arthur Darvill to sign it, and I was able to walk right up to his table. No one was in line, and I could have gotten the bumper then, but I didn't think of it.
Oh.
And on Sunday, he was too busy.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's,
It's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get him the
I
next
wish
time.
I could have.
You know what? Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to get anything, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Matt Smith was definitely too busy for me to have gotten anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt is a very, very popular person at the moment.
Oh, he definitely is.
So,
Which is cool. We want to
yeah.
see him do well.
oh, yes.
I do anyway.
Yes.
So.
I wasn't able to go to Arthur Darvill's Q&A because I was volunteering then, but I figured that's okay because I saw him at Galley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I figured I was going to have to miss one of them because of my volunteer schedule. It may as well have been the guy I already saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. And you go to these conventions. There's so much to see and do, and you can't get all of it in.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you try. But if you get if you get most of what you want,
I saw
cool.
what I could. I did what I could.
That's the way it goes with these things, unfortunately.
One day was pretty low key as long as I did some last minute stuff, volunteers in the afternoon. And the room I was assigned to, because I was on the 700 programming, which is like the little panels, like not the big celebrity stuff, little indie and fan run stuff. So, and I was assigned to room 713, and found out that the panel, and that panel had the room had 2 panels cancel on it. And
wow.
Then, the last thing was anime contest, like where you could go and name anime, I think probably theme tunes. So I was just like I was just telling people like you can just go in, and then like 10 to 4, my team leader comes and like there's nothing for you to do. All the panels are in. The last panels of the day are in. I'm just gonna sign your volunteer shift card and you can go.
Nice.
Which was about 2 hours before my shift was initially supposed to end. Because I was scheduled till like 6. So, and that's when the convention had like the last 2 hours of the convention to go around and any last minute things I wanted to do, get, see.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, that's fun. Bought some really nice stuff.
Swag!
And I have these buttons on my purse strap of all the doctors, and I lost a couple, like they'd fallen off, so I was able to replace those. And she had updated versions of all the new Who doctors, plus she'd added the War Doctor and the 12th Doctor.
Nice.
So I was able to replace the buttons I'd lost, and update the new Who. doctors. And yeah, I have those on my purse strap all nicely in a row. And they look so cool. Love them. So, yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you had fun. Sounds like it was
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Sounds
So,
like it.
definitely going back next year. And I was able to hand out some business cards, not as many as I would have liked, but a few.
Well, now you have some for next year.
Yep.
Yeah, lots for next year. I could probably send some to you guys if anyone needs them for conventions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where I was scrambling the night before, like, I should make up business cards. Wait, Michelle has some. Michelle! Want to send that PDF over?
So,
And I had to wrestle with my printer because it was being stupid to get them printed. But I got some printed. I had to do it different.
like yours, with the ones you had was just like printed on regular printer paper, right?
Yeah, I did. Well, I had some.
But the ones I have are like actual.
Well, I have some
business
like
card.
cardstock like for business cards, like a template that I print them off on.
Mm.
Ah,
So I actually have business cards. They're not just regular printer paper. It was
okay.
because I made some.
Because I
business
ordered
cards.
mine from a online.
Oh, okay.
business cards, like on like a printer, like
Yeah.
this sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I had like blank cardstock that was made to be business card paper, sort of a thing.
Good.
But yeah,
So
so they look nice. Not as nice as they were if they were professionally done, but good enough.
Yeah.
well, yeah. So I handed out a few. Like I took some pictures of cosplayers, and when I did that, I would give them my business card. Like, here, I have a podcast. You can check us out if you want. So, if you're listening to us from that, welcome.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello.
Hi, new
Hello.
listeners.
I have new listeners from Canada.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
And then the friends that I was staying at, her boyfriend is on the staff of the volunteer, the people who organize the volunteers. So they had a staff dinner on the Sunday night. So we stayed over, like me and my other friend, like the friend who gave me a ride from Kitchener. We stayed over because the dinner went quite late. So yeah, and when I got back there from the convention on Saturday, I immediately I need to watch the new episode of Doctor Who, and it wasn't on space.ca yet, so I used Holla Better Internet to trick BBC iPlayer into thinking I was in the UK and watched it like that.
Don't tell the BBC you did that.
Trick.
Yeah.
Oh well, Canada's part of the family, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're in the Commonwealth. We're ish.
Yeah. They're like
British
cousins.
ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Close
cousins.
enough.
Yeah.
Cool.
Close enough.
Yeah.
So
Works for me.
Yep.
I won't tell the Queen.
Sleep with us.
So yeah,
And all of our listeners.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds like you had fun.
Yeah.
had a lot of fun.
All right.
If you find
Well-
yourself in Canada for Fan Expo Canada next year, Michelle gives it a big thumbs up.
Yes, Expo
Rock
Canada is amazing, and we get some pretty big names. As like
That's cool.
we had several people from The Walking Dead, and Matt, Arthur, Stan Lee.
Love Stan.
Oh, we had Stan Lee too.
Yes, but we've had Stan Lee for the past several years. For the past, so I don't know how many years, but 2 or at least 3 for the past at least 3 years. which is how long I've been going, possibly longer.
I want to meet Stanley.
Yeah, he was here. He was here last year too.
He brings his own team of people with him when he goes to conventions.
That doesn't surprise me. When you're Stanley, you can do that sort of thing.
Of course.
So, because my friend who gave me a ride from Kitchener, Jess, she volunteers in the comic. She usually volunteers in the comic book area, so she kind of has to. So she's more directly impacted by that, by Stan Lee's lines.
Uh-huh.
So she could tell you a tale or two. What that's like.
Oh, I bet.
I bet. Cool. Yeah.
Sweet.
Well,
We'll post Michelle's pictures and all that. So her photo with Matt is fun. Matt always does the best poses in his pictures. So.
Matt is a gem.
He is.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. Have you told all your stories, Michelle?
I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't want to step on your toes, so.
About Salt Lake Comic-Con.
Yes.
All right, Salt Lake Comic-Con. Well, my adventures. Well, I gotta get this story out of the way, because this is what everybody's seeing on the news, and it's not very good, but they did better. So, when Salt Lake Comic-Con started last year, and we had the news of it, we're going to get it. I've talked about it before. I am just totally in love with this convention. I am pleased as all get out that I have a convention in my own backyard. After all this time of hearing about other people's conventions and if I ever wanted to go to a convention, I'd have to, get on a plane and go out of town. But now I could just, hop on the train and go up the train track a little bit, and the convention's right there, and it's awesome. I love it, and I want it to be successful, and I want it to do well, because the better it does, the more fun I get to have. It's purely selfish reasons. Honestly, but no, they do a good job generally. So Thursday, I was actually not planning on going to this one. I was going to save my money and go to FanX next spring if they do it. But I won a Thursday ticket back in May on their Facebook page. I don't know if other conventions do this, but Salt Lake Comic-Con has on their Facebook page, like, if you like and comment, you can get a chance to win either a one-day pass, a multi-pass, a VIP pass, whatever they decide to give away that day. And I won a Thursday pass. I was like, oh, cool, so I get to go. And then they announced that Colin Baker and Paul McGann were going to be there, and they were doing their panel on Thursday, and I was like, oh, well, look at this. I guess the universe loves me again. because I had to miss Gallifrey in February, and that's where, and they were there that time, and I was really mad. But I got to see them this time. So Wednesday, this actually starts Wednesday, they had pre-registration Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday there was 3 locations up and down the Wasatch Front where you could go pre-register. It was at the Larry H. Miller Megaplexes. And they were going to have people there. You could go show them scan your QR code and get your wristband or your badge or whatever you needed to get. So I went down to the Megaplex that's nearest to my house and got my wristband on Wednesday. So I didn't have to wait in that pre-registration line. I could just go in. So I get there on Thursday, and they had the VIP line open, I think at 1, or that's what they advertised, and then gold and multi-pass holders would get in at 2 o'clock. So I got there about 2 o'clock, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll just be able to go in, because I didn't want to wait out in the hot sun. Well, I get down to the convention center, and it is just there's just people everywhere. I posted a picture of it. It's all over Facebook if you look. And basically what happened is no one knew where to go. We were all wondering, like, where's the VIP line? Where's the gold line? Where's the where do we go register? Where do we do this? And in the front, the way the convention center's set up, where they had the doors, they had the entrance on the south end to get into where you need to register, and where you can get into the vendors hall. Now, if you went in the east door, that just gets you in the convention center and where all the panels are, and you can get in the vendors hall that way too. But everybody was on the east side of the building and trying to figure out where the line was, and there was nobody there to direct traffic. They had all their volunteers all three of them, on the south end of the building. And basically, they just got overwhelmed. And I think I heard a final total, the amount of people that showed up on the first day, on Thursday of this year, was the same number of people that showed up on Saturday, which was the last day last year. And so they were just not prepared for how many people showed up. And there were people who bought VIP passes months ago that waited 4 hours outside because they didn't know, because where they were funneling them through. And then they also had a bag check this year, which was new, but they only had like one table doing a bag check that I could see. So it was like really slow and not streamlined at all. And I think, and I heard, and on Friday they took away the bag check because like, this just isn't working. So yeah, there were some very upset people, and people are leaving nasty notes on Facebook about it, and bad comments, which they're justified in their anger. But here's the bottom line, and I was a little upset because I had to wait an hour. I ended up waiting in the wrong line, and I had to be redirected to another line. And I was a little bit nervous because Colin and Paul's panel was at 4:00 on Thursday, and I was like, okay, I've already waited an hour, and it was like 3:00, and they didn't open the doors until 3 for the multi-pass holders. And the day pass holders, when it should have been opened at 2. Like, I went down to that line. That's what ticked me off, was the door isn't even open, and it should have been open an hour ago. But I guess they didn't get the VIP open at the right time, and I don't know what happened there. But this is where they did right. Is the next day on Facebook and Twitter, the vice president of Salt Lake Comic-Con, Brian Brandenburg, he got on Facebook and he wrote this big, long apology to everybody who didn't get in on Thursday. And I even tweeted him myself and said, so, why isn't this door open? It's supposed to be open an hour ago. And he said, we weren't anticipating this number. We're really sorry. Well, I will be out there personally to make sure that the lines move, that everyone knows where they're supposed to be. And when I went there Friday morning, because I went there for work, there were the crowds outside were non-existent. There were volunteers about every 30 feet or so directing traffic, telling people what door they needed to go in. And I walked right up and said, I'm with the library. We have a booth. Can I? I had my name badge from work, and they said, oh yeah, go on in. And just everybody at all the checkpoints. And I appreciated having all those checkpoints, even though it was kind of a pain to repeat myself. I'm with the library. And I still had my wristband from Thursday, and I think they were still honoring those because the Thursday people, a lot of them, like they spent most of their day waiting outside, the ones that didn't pre-register. So they apologized, they offered refunds, and they made it, and it's what I would expect them to do, to come out and say that. And that's all, and that's really, yeah, they made a mistake. Yeah, they need to revise some of the way they handled things. But they fixed it the next day. Mm-hmm. And I think these people who are just getting on there and saying, I'm never coming back, this was a waste of my time and money, and I hate Salt Lake Comic-Con, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, fine, don't show up. Less crowds for next time. Mm-hmm. Because once I got in that building, I had a blast. I had the time of my life when I got in there.
Well, one thing about being a volunteer at Fangirls, there was a side entrance for the volunteers, exhibitors, VIP, and it's very well signposted.
And that was
do this. In the streets around the convention center, there's signs. Go this way to do this way to do this.
And Friday, they actually did have signs out. And I was very impressed, how quick they got those up. They had the volunteers and the signs out to go a day after this whole debacle happened. So, if you can't praise them for that, what can you praise them for? So, this is their second year convention. It was huge last year and they didn't expect it. It was huge this year and they didn't expect it. I think they're shooting, or they're projecting that the final numbers are going to be somewhere around 130,000 when all is said and done. Wow. That's kind of a rough estimate at this point, which is right behind San Diego Comic-Con. And they're even talking about maybe moving, because what San Diego does is they have stuff in the convention center, but they also have stuff around the convention center. So they're thinking maybe move some stuff to hotels or to the Energy Solutions Arena, which is the big basketball arena about 2 or 3 blocks away from the convention center. So they could very well have this spill over into nearby buildings and kind of maybe take care of it that way, or build a new convention center, because we're definitely outgrowing the Salt Palace, and that's the biggest convention center we've got in the state. So, and I know there's talk of building a great big convention hotel somewhere. So I don't know. They're looking into it because Salt Lake Comic-Con isn't going anywhere. It's not gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
Because they get like all the celebrities, all the stars love it. In fact, I'll get to that in a minute. Because the first thing I did when I got in the building was I was like, okay, it's 3:00. 2 Doctor starts at 4. I gotta go. I knew where the ballroom was, where it was gonna be. So I ran there, and they were doing Carrie Elwes, who, if you don't know who that is, Wesley from Princess Bride, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Those are his 2 most popular ones. He's been in a lot of other stuff too. But he was doing his first panel of the day at 3:00, and once I got in, and the people at the door, and like the panel had already started, people at the door were just like, "Oh yeah, there's some seating, over on this side. You can go find a place to sit. You're fine." Which I was like, after being around a crowd of very angry and upset people, it was very refreshing to find some volunteers who were just like, "Oh yeah, come on in." And I'm going to repeat my recommendation from Ray Park and have it apply to Carrie Elwes. If you can go and see Carrie Elwes on stage, do it. He was the biggest sweetheart in the entire world, apart from Colin Baker. But I'll get there. Because he was in the middle of his thing, and he was like walking up and down the stage. And so the guy was interviewing him, and he was talking about different things. And it was about 15 minutes into his panel, and then they finally said, "Well, we've got people lined up on the sides who want to ask questions." And so they would come up and ask questions, and he would like go back and forth on the stage because they had microphones on both sides. So he would do one side once and the other side the other time. And the fans came up and asked questions, and he'd ask them their name, and he was just like, just talking about different things. And he's been working on a TV show for BYU TV that's filmed in Utah, and it's called Granite Flats. I've never watched it, but apparently a lot of people like it because a lot of people asked him about it. So, and he was just like, and I talked about it on my Twitter. Let me find it a little bit. But he says like that it was that the work that the crew and everybody working on Granite Flats were like the nicest people, and they're all from Utah and everything. He's like, I'd love to come back and all these different things. And he had some really nice things to say. And then there were about 3 things that were just really, really just amazing. And what really sold me on this guy was that there was one fan who came up. His name was Josh, and he was he was in a wheelchair. I don't know what he had or anything, but that's not the point. And he came up. He said, "Princess Bride is my favorite movie. I've memorized the Battle of the Wits. Can I do it with you?" And he was like, "Well, I'm not sure I'll remember my lines." But he's like, he turns to the audience and says, "Is there someone I can have to prompt me?" And a bunch of hands shoot up, and he pulls someone out of the audience. And the first person that he picked really didn't know it, but he made her feel okay about it anyway. And And he ended up doing the whole scene. I took video of it and I put it on my Facebook page. You can probably repost it to our Facebook page. And it was just so good to see him do this, and you can just see the love that he has for this movie. I mean, I can imagine, you have this one, you're famous for one, maybe 2 movies, and those are the questions you get asked about over and over again. And somebody even asked him what it was his favorite line from as Wesley, and he used it because he wrote a book called As You Wish that talks about his experience on doing The Princess Bride. And he said, I wrote a little book. You might have heard of it. And we all kind of laughed. But this was the best thing he said. You know what? When I die, on my tombstone, there is going to be 3 words on there. And I'm okay with that. You can just tell how much he loved this show and everything. And there was another girl who was just she was kind of, she was kind of, having a fangirl moment. She's like, oh my gosh, you're my favorite. You were my first Hollywood crush. He got off the stage and went down and gave her a hug.
Aww.
Like he was just such a sweetheart. And then when the moderator said, okay, we've only got like 5 minutes, he's like, there's so many people want to ask a question, and he saw a guy dressed up as Wesley, or as the man in black in line, and he goes, Wesley, we're getting to you. And so at the very end, he pulls the Wesley cosplayer up on stage, and let's see. Oh, maybe I just have video of it. Oh, they were talking about like, what prop did he take from the set? And he said, well, I would have taken one of Wesley's swords, but I gave it to the director because I thought he deserved it. But he asked the guy, he's like, how many swords do you own? He's like, and the guy was like, 2. And Carrie was like, okay, now don't, we're among friends here. You don't have to lie. And he's like, 17. Yeah. So, and they actually ended up adding another, they added another panel with Carrie Elwes on Saturday, and another friend of mine went to that one. It was in a smaller room, and she actually got to ask him a question. I don't know what she asked him, but yeah, so Carrie Elwes, he was a hit. I was like, if I wasn't going to see the two doctors next, I would say that was the best one of the convention, even though that was my first one.
Starting off on the right foot.
Yes, it was, and he was very complimentary about the convention, and just said he was having a good time. He wanted to come back and everything. So then the two doctors was next. It was in the same room, so I just stuck around, and than where I was, and they brought him out. They brought out Colin Baker and Paul McGann, and there was everyone was cheering. They brought out a couch, and apparently it was very comfortable because neither Colin or Paul got up during the whole thing.
They are not Sylvester.
Very opposite of Sylvester, and they had a little intro video for both Colin and Paul, and Colin's was all Doctor Who, and Paul's was Doctor Who plus some of the other stuff that he's been in and everything, and everybody cheered, and I live tweeted it the best I can, so I won't go blow by blow with it. We'll link to my Twitter feed if you want to really see it. I
loved your play-by-play. I didn't get to read it in real time, but I read it after the fact, and
that was only
so much fun.
Maybe a half a percentage of everything, because they were just boom, 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 just off each other. And the best part was, like, Paul would always have some snappy little dry comeback to what Colin was saying. So, like, trying to find one. Oh, this one, because someone was asking Colin, like, saying, I heard, what was your process of going through and making your creating your doctor? And he was like, well, I wanted someone who was very not human, very, very, he's an alien, and he's different, and he's going to do different things to what we do. And he's like, and he was saying, have you seen what Peter Capaldi is doing right now? And the crowd all cheers, and Paul goes, no. And we all laughed. But yeah, basically Colin said that, Peter Capaldi is doing what Colin would have liked to have done had he been given more time. And he even admitted that having the twin dilemma air in the previous season was probably not a good idea. Hindsight being what it is. But they also talked about Big Finish, and and they were like, has anyone heard of Big Finish? And maybe 20 people cheered, myself among them. Yeah. Thank you.
Good.
And I was like, woo! And that sort of thing. And Paul talked about, like, Dark Eyes is kind of his favorite series, and Colin talked about Evelyn Smythe and how she was probably his favorite companion in Big Finish, because she'll knock him down a peg, but they're still really good friends and all these things. And when Colin and Paul mentioned Evelyn and Dark Eyes, maybe 3 people cheered, and I got on Twitter and was like, are there only 3 people in this whole room who've heard of Big Finish? And everything. So I was like, well, when I get up to their autograph table, that's what I'm going to mention. I'm going to mention Big Finish. And that's actually what I had Colin sign. I had him sign I have a CD copy of Jubilee I bought at Galley when I was there. So, because I already got because Sean and Mel got me a signed photo of Colin already. So I'm like, well, I don't need that, so I'm going to have him sign this instead.
Smart
and
thinking.
and Colin also said that cause they were asked about Day of the Doctor, were they actually under those sheets, and Colin said, "Of course we were. What you saw on TV, that was us."
I believe him.
Yeah.
I believe him
If
too.
Colin says
Me
so,
too.
you know, it's true. So.
It's true. And someone asked Paul if if there was ever going to be an Eighth Doctor miniseries. He's like, well, I'm up for it, but Stephen Moffat has to give the go ahead, and that guy thinks on the seat of his pants. Basically, that's not what Paul said, but that's how I interpreted it. But he basically said Stephen Moffat thinks on his feet. He probably doesn't know what he's doing 6 weeks ahead. So if
I believe that
like,
too.
Yeah, if next week he thinks, I think we ought to do an Eighth Doctor miniseries, well, then they'll start production on it, or pre-production, or whatever. And this was the best one. There was probably this kid. He was probably like 10 or 11 years old, and he came up and he asked Colin. He's like, I've just started watching the new Doctor Who, the new series, and I love it. Where would you suggest I start? I watch the old series. Where would you suggest I start? And Colin said, from the beginning. And with William Hartnell, and he because he was like, because that's what inspired him to love Doctor Who. That's what still inspires him. You know, you start from the very beginning. And he did put in one caveat. Bear in mind that this is what was exciting to people in 1963 in England.
Yes.
And they talked a little bit about the five-ish Doctors. Paul wants to do another one. Colin says, unless they come up with a really good idea, it's a one-time thing. And so they asked about their favorite monsters. Paul said he was a little bit in love with the Weeping Angels, and if you can imagine his buttery voice saying that, and everybody cheered. And Colin was like, "Well, what's the big deal with the Weeping Angels? All you have to do is alternate eyes, and the damn things can't get you."
Oh,
I
Colin.
mean, they just went back and forth with each other. It was just so good the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last question.
The McGalley, and it was pretty much the same.
And someone did ask, what is your favorite, or what is your least favorite monster? And they were like, they had to think about that one. And Paul looked at Colin and was like, well, you must have worked with one. Colin goes, why do you say that? and they made this. They gave the diplomatic answer saying that production-wise, the Daleks were hard to work with because they were just on caster wheels, and if they hit anything bigger than a peanut, they'd fall over.
I'd like to see that.
Maybe that's how they make them fall over in the show. I don't know.
They put peanuts down.
Put peanuts down, like fall over.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. So that was the end of the panel. And, I was just going off my Twitter. That was basically my notes. And, oh, my gosh, they were just so good together. And, because their eras, quote-unquote, are so different. At first thought, you wouldn't think that the Sixth Doctor and the Eighth Doctor, how is this panel going to work? But, no, they are just, the greatest of friends. They could, bop one off at each other. And, there was one other thing that happened. So there was this girl, and she had a service dog with her, and they were dressed up. I'm not sure what the cosplay was. It wasn't Doctor Who, but it was something else. And she was like, this is my service dog, and I work with dogs at her work, and I guess her coworkers kind of challenged her to go to the Doctor Who panel and see if Colin and Paul would feed her dog treats. And they were like, we don't have treats. And she was like, I've got them. They're like jelly babies. So they brought the dog up on stage with her, and Colin and Paul were just feeding treats. And the funniest one I did get video of this, was Colin put one of the treats in his mouth and tried to get the dog to jump up to him. Oh! And then the dog wouldn't do it, and he was like, wow, that's an acquired taste.
Oh.
So, the whole time everyone was just laughing and cheering and everything, so it was just really good. So that panel ended, and it was about 5 o'clock, and I hadn't been in the vendors hall yet, so I didn't know where anything was, and I knew they had moved the autograph tables. They weren't where they were last time, so I had to go find them. because I was like, I got to figure out when Colin and Paul are signing, and I'm sure it's going to be soon because they just got out of their panel. So I go down and I find where the autographs are, and Colin and Paul are right next to each other because that makes sense. And Paul already has a bit of a line, and I asked the volunteers there, like, just kind of, can I just wait in line right here? They weren't there yet. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. I mean, again, really nice, really friendly volunteers. They were as excited as I was to be there, and you could tell they were fans of a sort as well. Like somewhat like one of the volunteers, he was asking me, because I had my Fifth Doctor hat on, and I had my celery pin in my hat band. In fact, somebody recognized it, and it's like, and they were on the one side away from my celery pin, and they were all like, oh man, I haven't seen that hat since he regenerated. And I'm like, yeah, have you seen? It's like, oh, did the celery give it away? And he's like, what? Oh, like, oh yeah, the celery's on this side. So I turned it around, and they just laughed because I'm like, they're like, that is cool. And I was like, I know, thank you. And I talked to another guy in line, and I did give away some business cards while I was in line. So yes, Salt Lake Comic-Con people, if you're listening, hello. Thank you for listening.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. So we were just sort of waiting and chit-chatting, and I saw actually a guy that I met when I was volunteering with the Off-Broadway Theater last summer, and he recognized me, and I didn't recognize him because he was cosplaying as the War Doctor, and he's like 18, 19, 20, like really young guy, but he had his goatee like dyed gray and his hair dyed gray, so he looks a little older. So we talked a little bit there, and everything, and I was trying to figure out, because you could get pictures with them, but I hadn't budgeted for it. And I could have gotten it, but I wanted to get some other things. So I'm like, I just want to talk to him, maybe get a bumper and have him sign some stuff. And I talked to Colin first. So, and then they came about the same time. Well, Paul came a little bit before Colin, and he got started because he had a little bit of a longer line. Like, I was right in the front of the line. And then there were some VIP people that they got let in first because they were VIP, which I was fine. There were like two of them. But they came up, and I was like, gearing myself up, like, okay, what am I going to say to him? What am I going to say to him? And I said, I got up there and I said, I have my copy of Jubilee, and I asked if he'd sign it. And he's like, oh, and I was like, I love your big finish. You're one of my, you're a favorite you're one of my favorite doctors, which is true. If not my doctor, but he's one of my favorites. And he asked, who do I sign this to? And I spelled my name for him because people sometimes need that. And I was like, lucky I could remember how to spell my name. But the whole time, he's like your favorite uncle. He's the sweetest, most endearing gentleman. Just, oh my gosh, he's like a big teddy bear, and he's just such a sweetheart. And I said, I'm on a podcast, and we're called the Five-ish Fangirls in honor of the Five-ish Doctors. And he laughed he laughed, like he was genuinely touched by that. And I was like, would it be okay if I had you record a bumper for us? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I got it queued up, and the volunteer that was there, he thought I was getting a photo op, because you could do that at the table if you paid $20. But I decided I wanted to get the bumper for free, plus my autograph. And so Colin just sort of waved, and I was like, no, it's not a photo op. And then he gave his message, which I'm guessing, Rachel, you're going to use on this episode.
Oh yeah. So if you listen to the intro, you would have heard it by now. So.
Yes.
If for some reason you skipped over the intro, go back.
Go back. It is so like the whole time he was doing it, and I was just grinning the whole time. I was trying not to laugh because I didn't want to ruin the recording. And he just had the sweetest message for us, and I was like, I can't wait to show the girls. Oh my goodness. And I said, thank you so much. And I was a little bit, kind of getting a little fangirl gushy a little bit, and I shook his hand, and he winked at me, and just smiling, he Colin Baker, he twinkles. He's like, he's just lovable and wonderful and such a gentleman. And he loves the fans. He loves Doctor Who so much. You could just tell, because the people before me that got their poster signed, they had this big poster that's like this Egyptian something, a depiction of 50 years of Doctor Who, so, and it like done an Egyptian something, and they've had like doctors sign it, and Colin was like looking at it like, this is amazing, and just really enthralled by it, and it was just really cool. So yeah, he gets excited about the show just as much as we do. So I left Colin's line. I went and got, what's that?
He's a fan.
Oh yeah, he's a fan.
If there was an official Doctor Who fan club, Colin would be the president.
Wasn't he the president of Doctor Who Appreciation Society?
I think he was at one point, and I think maybe Glenn or somebody had said this after he saw him at Galley, and I've said it too. It's like, of anybody who has been on Doctor Who that should have a chip on his shoulder, you'd think it would be Colin, but he is such the biggest proponent and fan of the show. He is so sweet. I love him.
Doctor Who has no greater champion than Colin Baker. Yeah. I swear to all that is good holy. He is just, he just has an enthusiasm, and when he's around the fans, you can just feel it. It's just this energy and this. It was so good.
I'm so glad he's my doctor.
He is wonderful. Just I can say nothing but good about him.
Yeah.
He's the nicest ever. So then I go get in Paul McGann's line, which is a little bit longer, but that's okay because there's some people there getting stuff, and then here come the line police. Here's the team captain, and she's like, this line needs to be separated, and blah 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 blah, and doing their thing, and I was like, the cutoff was supposed to be me, but while she was distracted, I like stepped up, so I didn't get the cutoff.
Nice.
and get sent back away with the peasants. But and Paul, I don't know what I was expecting when I was going to go meet Paul McGann. I was like, because he's Paul McGann. He's like suave and very sexy, and just he's you love him. And it's like, am I even going to be able to speak when I see him? And I go through the same thing. I'm like, okay, what am I going to say to him? Just don't sound like an idiot. Pick out the picture you want, and everything. And I get up to the table, and he had a bunch of pictures from the movie and from some of the other stuff, and then there were 3 prints right in front of him that were from Night of the Doctor, and I knew that's what I wanted to get, one of those 3, but I couldn't decide. And I was sitting there going, "Oh, you've got stuff from Night of the Doctor. I don't know which one I want." And he just started talking about, I was like, I love that so much. He's like, oh, wasn't it great? And I was like, oh, it was such a great surprise. I love seeing it. I don't know how many times I watched it. He's like, I know it came out on my birthday. And I was like, I remember that. And I tweeted you and I said, happy birthday, Paul McGann. But I think Stephen Moffat just gave you the best birthday present ever. And he was just grinning away. He's like, oh, it was so much fun to do that. And I finally, by that time, had picked out the picture I wanted him to sign. And, he asked me my name, and I, told him how to spell it and everything, and he signed it, and he was like, and he signed it, and then he was like fixing up little flourishes, and I was like getting my courage up to say, I'm on a podcast, and would you like, to send it, could you record a bumper for us? Would that be okay? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I got my phone queued up, got the app open, and he just said, and he's like, what should I say? And I'm like, I'm going to tell Paul McGann what to say into my phone. It's like, if you could just say, I'm Paul McGann, and you're listening to the 5-ish Fangirls. And he got a chuckle out of the 5-ish Fangirls thing. And he said, this is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the 5-ish Fangirls podcast. And, it was just very sweet, or very to the point and everything. But, you don't need Paul to say anything fancy. You just need him to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then I said, thank you, you're wonderful, thank you for coming to Salt Lake, and it was a pleasure to meet you, and I shook his hand. I think I shook his hand when I first met him, when I first got up to the table, and when I left, so I shook his hand twice.
Nice.
Because I was just so brain mush thing. And then he held my hand a little bit longer, and he said, till we meet again. And I was just like, yeah. So I was like, thank you, and then I walked off, and I was holding the picture, and then that's when I realized I was shaking, because I had it both, and so I was just like, what's my name? I'm getting a little flustered right now recalling this. But and like I was like, what do I gotta do first? Okay, put the picture away, because I had a folder. I was gonna put the picture away, put it in nice, and and my folder had gotten a little mashed in my bag. I'm like, oh, please don't mess up my picture. But it didn't. It didn't get messed up. And I was like, okay.
I have a sleeve for my, like one of those plastic.
Oh yeah.
Like, must protect the precious.
I had one at home, but I was dumb and didn't bring it with me. I brought my folder. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, I in mine, so.
Oh yeah.
I just bring the whole thing, sleeve, photo, everything.
Nice.
That's a smart, probably thing.
Very smart. So I put that away and was like, I gotta tell somebody about this. So then I got on Messenger and messaged all you guys. I was like, oh, you can. And then I tweeted it out in all caps, and I'm like, and I don't even know anything anymore. What did I say? I was like, Paul again just shook my hand and said, till we meet again, and I'm dead.
Yeah.
So, and then I found out later, another friend of mine, she met Paul again, and she had the same reaction, and we were just like, ah! But, it's so funny because Paul McGann, he does have this kind of persona of, the sexy doctor, pretty one kind of a thing. But he's just, he has just as much fun with it as Colin does. Like, they're just a bunch of grown-up boys about the whole thing. And he loves Doctor Who just as much as the rest of them do. And so, yeah, if Stephen Moffat called him tomorrow and said, hey, we're going to do an 8th Doctor miniseries, he'd be like, I'm going to be there yesterday.
Yeah.
He would be there to do it. But, yeah, so that was, and then the rest of Thursday, I just kind of wandered around. I saw the Weta Workshop display. They had a great big head of the dragon Smaug up on top of their display. And it actually, its eyes opened and shut. And I was looking at it, and I was like, it's Benedict Cumberbatch!
I wish.
When I took my pictures,
you're saying that reminded me of, I didn't see this person, but my friend Jess told me about it. Apparently there was someone, like, dressed, like, neck down, BBC Sherlock, like, with a scarf and everything. Neck up was a dragon head, like, Smaug, and they had, like, this staff with a picture of Benedict Cumberbatch on it.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
you talking about that, the dragon that at Salt Lake reminded me of that.
Yeah, that's how they did the motion capture, and so yeah, it looks just like him, except as a dragon.
Yeah.
And so I went up there, and Weta was there. Was at Salt Lake Comic Con last year, and
I'm so jealous of that. I love Weta.
It was their last year. Salt Lake was their first Comic Con in North America that wasn't San Diego. And basically, because they're from New Zealand, and they figure, oh, we can get to San Diego, but they figure, oh, Salt Lake, it's just beyond San Diego, we can get there. And so this is the second year they've brought their big display, and they had all the figures that they had for sale up there, and they had the weapons in their glass cases, and they just had all kinds of stuff. It felt like a little smaller than it was last year, but it was still pretty cool. And they had some of the Weta Workshop team. They had a book with all the artwork and concept art and descriptions of it, and they were signing books and selling them and giving them to fans and stuff. But the funniest part was where they had part of the exhibit was like this enclosed space where like they had all the displays, but then there's a curtain that's like sort of their quote back room where they have all their stuff that they want people to see or whatever. And on the curtain there's a little sign written in curly Shire that looks like Bilbo Baggins' handwriting. It says, "No admittance even on party business."
I saw your picture of that.
Yeah, I took a ton of pictures of that, and we can repost those to our Facebook page so people can see. There's a new theme park that's going up in a town just south of Salt Lake called Pleasant Grove. Well, about an hour south of Salt Lake, and it's called Evermore Park. And basically, it's sort of a Victorian themed walkthrough sort of thing. They haven't built it yet, but they're working on it right now, and so they're kind of a big mainstay. They've been there. They were at FanX last spring, and they were at Comic-Con this time. And they have it's kind of a steampunk haunted house kind of a feel, because they had like their gargoyles and stuff out there, what they would put out for Halloween. But they also had a band with fiddle and a banjo and a box drummer, I guess is what they're called. I don't know for sure. They were playing "Devil Went Down to Georgia," and that was pretty cool. I'm kind of excited for that park to open up, and they had like displays of what's going to be at the park and models and different things like that. So that looks really cool when that comes up. There's a lot of cosplay. I saw a lot of Doctor Who cosplay. I was very surprised. I only saw like 1 or 2 people dressed up as the 12th Doctor. Most people were 10 or 11, or there was a lot of War Doctors, a lot of 4s. I did see a William Hartnell cosplay.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was going to get a picture of him, but he was going really fast the other way. And
he wasn't moving at Hartnell's speed then, was he?
No, he wasn't. He was kind of. I had enough time to say nice Hartnell costume, and he said thanks and walked off. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, that was my Thursday, just kind of walking around, seeing what there was to see, and
coming down from the high.
Yeah, coming down from the high, just taking it in, just enjoying it, and then the next day, Friday, I was actually working, so I didn't have to be there until later. And like I said earlier, I walked right in. There were no crowds up in the front. Like, they had people in there telling people where to go, and the volunteers, they were great. They were just fantastic. Like, even on Thursday when there was all that mess with the lines and the volunteers were, a little stressed out, I could tell, but they were still trying to be as helpful as possible. They're very well trained. Probably needed a few more of them, but it's okay. But like Friday, I was this year Salt Lake County Library we teamed up with the Clark Planetarium, and because our summer reading theme this year was science, and so we did some science stuff and did a science theme, and so they had like what's it called? That it's called a Van de Graaff generator, where you put your hand on it and it conducts static electricity, makes your hair stand on end, and you do all this shock sort of stuff. And they had a meteorite that was there, and they did some stuff with liquid nitrogen. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And I say, book list about science, or and we advertised our Harry Potter Yule Ball that we do every year in January. So we were doing that. So I was just basically working at the booth, and then I stuck around afterward because I saw a friend of mine that I hadn't seen for a while. She was actually my old roommate, and she doesn't live with us anymore, but she was there, and I was like, I'm off in 10 minutes. Wait for me, and we'll come play. I'll come play and do things, and so we walked around, and she wasn't there the day before. She'd only gone on Friday and Saturday, so I was like, she's like, oh, you were here yesterday. Well, what did you see? And was asking me about all the lines because she'd heard about it, and I told her, basically what I told you guys, that it was a mess, but they fixed it and cleaned it up. So we just walked around and did stuff, and I guess I can talk about my goodies, my treasures that I collected in addition to my autographs. On Friday, I found the booth with our ABC affiliate here in town, and they were like trying out some new app they were going to put on or some new game they were putting on their website. And if you tested it out, you could get a free something from one of their shows, like a poster or something. And I saw this little spiral bound notebook from Once Upon a Time that is made to look kind of like Henry's storybook. And I posted a picture of this online. We can repost it again. And I was just, and I tried the little thing out. I thought, oh, maybe I'll get a poster or something. And I saw the little journals. I'm like, I want that, because it's black and it's like got gold leafing kind of a thing. But it's and the pages inside actually have the Once Upon a Time logo, which are kind of nice because sometimes they're just generic and they don't really do much. But this is actually a really nice one. So nice. I got that. Thursday, one of the first vendors I saw was a comic book vendor, and they actually had the new Titan Comics Doctor Who issue 1, and these were actually the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive covers, and they were right next to each other, and you put them together, and they make a full picture with the 10th Doctor and 11th Doctor back to back, and they're in downtown San Diego and whatever, and I was like, I want those. so I got those, and the guy was showing me like, have you ever been to San Diego? I was like, actually no, and he's like, well, this is like some historic place. I'm like, I just think the covers look cool, and it's San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, so there. And I got some badges. I got one in lieu of being able to find a Baby Groot bobblehead. I got a button that has Baby Groot dancing on a picture, so he's there. I got a bumper sticker for my car that says it's smaller on the outside and it has a TARDIS, which I still need to put on my car. I found Sailor Moon plushies. I got a Sailor Jupiter on Thursday, and I found a Sailor Mercury, who is those are my two favorites. And I found the Sailor Mercury on Friday, and I got a book from an author, James Owen, and it's called The Chronicles of the Imaginarium Geographica, and it's called Here There Be Dragons is the first book. And I got a poster as well, and it's like, I haven't started to read it yet, but it sounds like all literary figures living in a fantasy world, all in the same place. It sounds a little bit like Once Upon a Time, where all the characters live together, but there's more to it than that. So I'm a little intrigued by this. So
sounds like a book that I just read. I can't remember the title of it, but sorry.
Yeah, well, I recognized it when I saw the variant covers, because we have them at the library, but I didn't recognize it at first until I saw those different covers. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try that. So that's what I got, and a lot of pictures and a lot of squee, and my feet were killing me afterward.
Oh.
But it was so worth it. So much fun. They did a really...
the Titan Doctor Who comics?
Uh-huh.
The second issue of the David Tennant line came out just before Fan Expo, and I forgot to go to my local comic book store to pick it up, but I was able to get it at Fan Expo.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can't get your hands on something.
Well, I mean, it's a convention. If you can't get a comic book at a convention,
yeah, really.
where are you supposed to
Where
get
can you get one?
Exactly.
That's true. Very true. Oh, and I also got, those pop vinyl figures that have, those little figures of every pop culture character you can think of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got an Elsa.
I saw that.
I got a bunch, Fan Expo Canada had a bunch of exclusive stuff. Like, they had 10th and 11th Dr. Pop, they had variants of the 10th and 11th Doctor that were available. They had, variant covers for the first issues of the Titan Comics line. And then they had a t-shirt with Matt Smith's face on it. I like a picture of Matt Smith on it, so I was able to pick up all of those at Fan Expo at their special shop. And this is something that they just introduced this year. Volunteers get a 20% discount at the Fan Expo shop.
Nice.
Nice.
So I got it for without the discount, it was $75. With the discount, all that was $60. So
Even
that
better.
was fun.
That's
That's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Then I also got to see a friend of mine that I knew in Florida, and she lives in Idaho now with her husband, and they came down for Comic-Con, and I didn't know she was in town until she messaged me on Facebook, and I was like, well, I'll be there Friday, come see me. And so I got to see her, and I hadn't seen her in forever. And
Nice.
so that was really cool. But yeah, Salt Lake Comic-Con, I know people are upset about the line thing, and Saturday apparently was a zoo again, and I know, I mean, they want it to be a successful convention. They want it to last. And, whether, I mean, we talk about, oh yeah, we can beat San Diego just, because, people like competition, whatever. That's fine. But yeah, they put on another great show this year. There was some mistakes, but they apologized. They fixed it. And I'm sure next year's going to be, they're going to implement some other ideas, and it's still a very, very new convention. But Stan Lee got up on stage and said this was the best convention in the country. this is the second year he's been to it. It's only been the second year that we've had it. So we've had him twice. And we've had William Shatner twice. He didn't come this year, but he came to FanX. Yeah, and just all like John Barrowman. I didn't see this. I just saw it on YouTube. He was only there Friday and Saturday. But he got up and he's saying, "Can't take my eyes off you" to the whole convention. And he said, and as far as I can tell, he had a great time. Everybody's just been nothing but complimentary about it. And I mean, I know a lot of this is like, you know, they're guests and they want the fans to feel, you know, like, you know, that they care about the fans, and they genuinely do. And you know, you don't want to badmouth someone in their own house or anything, but everything I've heard from the celebrities and everybody from them has been very complimentary. And I mean, they can. They're only going to grow, and that's just how this is going to be. And yeah, if I can go again next year. There was a couple of times I was like, I'm not coming back next year, but once I got in, it's like I would be crazy to miss this, unless there was some reason that I couldn't come. Mm-hmm. But it's the greatest thing in the world, and I love it, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. So keep rocking on, Salt Lake Comic-Con. Keep rocking on.
Just don't break. Just don't break any more celebrities' teeth.
Oh, well, I don't know where he was eating chocolate covered blueberries at, or how that broke his tooth. Or Colin. If you didn't hear Colin Baker on Twitter last night, he said, "Come all the way to Salt Lake City, and I break my tooth, and I can't get it fixed till I get home on Monday." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry this happened in my city." Aww. And Rachel got on and was like, "What did you do to my dog?" Yeah. I was like, when I left him.
I shall avenge my doctor's honor. Or in this case, his tooth.
Oh, when he was in Toronto last year, we took good care of him.
That's good. That's good.
So,
well, I will say this.
What's going on with those hooligans in Salt Lake?
John Barrowman did say that when he called down for room service from his hotel for a glass of wine, they sent him up a whole bottle, and he was like, "Man, you people in Salt Lake know how to treat a man," or something like that.
Oh, John.
I have to say, Chrissy, hearing you talking about the panel with Paul McGann and Colin Baker, I cannot wait to next summer.
Oh, you will have such a blast. I mean, all you're doing is listening to a couple of people talk about their experience on a TV show, but it's just so fun and so good.
Very, especially when they're passionate and about what it is they're talking about. So it's just, you know, aside from a few exceptions, and it's not anything that I've ever experienced firsthand, but you know, from what we've heard from the guys over at Traveling the Vortex, that other than a couple of people who we won't throw under the bus, but most everybody from the Who family they're all so nice and so pleasant to talk to at these conventions. It's just, it's amazing that a fandom this large with this many people in its history, and they all just have great things to say about their experience from being on this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Colin even said, because someone asked, like, what was your favorite part of being the Doctor? And Colin, that was the first question in the panel, and he said there was not one moment that I didn't love. And given how Colin was treated when he was on the show, that says a lot.
Yes.
Because he just loves being the Doctor. And I think the funniest story he told is one he's told before, but like the first day of filming, like he came home and was, you know, feeling really good, and he said to his, you know, he walks in the door and he says to his wife, "I am the Doctor." And his wife doesn't even look up from her newspaper, whatever she's doing, and she's like, "That's nice, dear. Take out the rubbish." And he was like, "So that humbled me a little bit." So yeah.
Yeah. That's great. I'm happy that both of you guys had fun. So
Yes.
we will. I'm sure we will have more convention reports as time rolls on. So
Yep.
Mhm.
If
They're
you
a
can ever
thing.
go to a convention, do it.
Yep.
And hopefully your local one is as awesome as Salt Lake.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the actual topic for this week.
You mean we're not just here to talk convention stuff?
No, unfortunately, we're not. We're gonna tangent and squeeze some more. Speaking of Benedict Cumberbatch, among other people,
I set you up for that one.
Yes, you did. Thank you. We wanted we were going to bring up this topic mostly because of the amount of bling that it won at the Emmys a few weeks ago. Because it's not on TV at the moment and it's not going to be for a while, unfortunately. But Sherlock, even with the sporadic seasons that it's had, is still a phenomenon, I guess. It's not quite Doctor Who-ish, but it's got a decent sized fandom, and
there's a lot of cross-pollination.
We were talking about that before we started recording, and I think, love him or hate him, I think the fact that Stephen Moffat is the showrunner for Sherlock probably has a lot to do with that. The man knows what he's doing. At least I think so, most of the time. Some other people may think differently, but before we really get into the actual show itself, I guess we could touch upon the Sherlock Holmes as a whole. Who is only, what's your familiarity with the literary character? If you only watch the show, have you read the books? Have you listened to audio plays, that sort of thing? I know myself, I've got a collection of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes on my Kindle, and I haven't gone past page 1. Which is sad, but I'm just, it's one of those things where I'll get around to it eventually. But I mentioned when we were doing our pre-show meeting that, before I watched the television series that most people I think are familiar with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, I really did not know a whole lot about Sherlock Holmes. I haven't even watched the movies with Robert Downey Jr., and I love Robert Downey Jr., so you think I would have watched those several times, but
they're worth it.
Oh yes, you need to watch those.
So what I started watching Sherlock mostly because I knew it's kind of like Doctor Who, where I knew other people watched it. I knew Stephen Moffat was the showrunner, so I figured, he's done a good job with Doctor Who. This is probably good too. And I needed something to watch while Doctor Who was on break. So I popped up, A Study in Pink on Netflix, and within 10 minutes, I was like, this is the most amazing thing I have seen in a long time. I must watch all of it. And I tried to pace myself, but I think I watched all 3 seasons within a week.
What do you mean there's no more?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? What do you mean that's it?
Yeah.
I know for a show that only has 9 episodes, that's a pretty passionate fan base, and it inspires a lot of people. Like the end of that second season, which I guess statute of limitations on spoilers has run out by now.
Oh yes.
Where Sherlock appears.
2 years.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But yeah, like where Sherlock appears to have fallen to his death, and everyone's like, "There's no way, he's got to be still alive," and they're all, all these fan theories comes out,
him still alive at the end of the episode.
Yeah. And there's all these fan theories of how did he survive, and then the first episode of the next season is everybody theorizing how did he survive, and it's like, oh yeah, I see what you did there, Afoot.
Yeah.
You cheeky little so-and-so.
And we still don't know what actually happened, because when Sherlock was explaining to Anderson, we don't even know if that's the truth or not.
Mm-hmm. And we probably never will. That's the best part about it. Moffat, you did that on purpose.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Moffat
it's
likes
just...
to troll the fandom.
Oh,
and
he does.
I think that's why.
He does.
I think that's why people get mad at him, really.
Yeah.
But they have to find other reasons to do it, so they don't sound like they're whining.
Yeah. Like I said, I haven't really read any of the print of Sherlock, but I know Holly has. So, can you maybe, I guess, elaborate on the difference, I guess, or how well it's matched, or?
I've read some bits and pieces of Sherlock Holmes here and there of the Arthur Conan Doyle collection. I mean, there are some differences, changing plot bits here and there.
Right.
And I was kind of interested with because I kind of really liked the relationship that Mary, John, and Sherlock, kind of had. And I had remembered that there was a kind of a spin-off of Sherlock by Laurie R. King, where there's this female detective called Mary Russell, and she winds up teaming up with Sherlock, and later on kind of having a romantic relationship, and them going off and solving mysteries as well. So I'm just like, and those are, I'm halfway through book 1, and I kind of had found book 6 and started reading. I was like, okay, better go back to book 1 and and find out stuff. So I kind of spoiled myself there, but I am going to go back, and because they even reference some of in this Laurie R. King series, they do go back and reference some of the original Arthur Conan Doyle stuff. So I am going to go back and make sure I do read the original as well to see how true it matches up. But so far, I'm enjoying it, and I love the series, and 2015 can't come soon enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I like in college, I read a few of the short stories for one of my British literature classes, and I'm trying to remember which one it was that I read, and because back then, when novels back when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was writing, novels were a thing, but most people read stories in like serial magazines and different things like that. So you would read a chapter, or you'd read a short story, and then the next week would have the cliffhanger resolution sort of thing. So that was kind of what how Sherlock Holmes kind of the time period, what was going on literature wise, and that sort of thing. So and Sherlock Holmes got so popular because that was all people wanted to get to read from Sir Conan Doyle, and at one point he actually killed off Sherlock because he was so tired of writing about him, and then people got mad and said, "Bring him back." And so, yeah, and that which is what season 2 of BBC Sherlock was based on that finale. So he actually had to bring him back, kind of. I mean, and that was probably an homage to how that all happened. And so basically in comics and Sherlock, no one ever dies except for the people who get murdered.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of literary background, and I may have gotten some of that wrong, but literary scholars can correct me if they wish.
Yeah, it's. I think the thing with Sherlock, especially the TV series, I mean, because Sherlock Holmes, I mean, the books go back to, these books have been around for a long, long time. I mean, there's no way to. I don't know what the first publication date is, but I mean, the Sherlock Holmes is set in like Victorian England. I mean, they're going around with horse and buggies and that sort of thing. It's not the modern era at all. But the fact that they were able, and there's been so many adaptations, but they've always been set in the time period of when the books were set. I mean, even if you want, we were talking about how there's been crossover with people that have been on Sherlock have also been on Doctor Who. But I mean, Tom Baker played Sherlock Holmes once for, I think, a TV serial. Peter Cushing has played Sherlock Holmes once. So, but they've always been set in that time. Like I said, I haven't seen the Robert Downey Jr. movies, but I've seen enough that I know it's set in the same time period. So the fact that it was modernized and set into modern day, and it still works.
Yes.
With some plot changes, like Holly mentioned, it's had to have changes just because, for it to be relevant, cell phones and the internet and that sort of thing and social media have a obvious impact on the way Sherlock does his thing and the way that the criminals do their thing. But the fact that it's adapted so well.
Those changes included a little less casual racism.
Well, yes. That's true.
You see, that you have to understand that's a product of its time, and yes, those
BBC
things
Sherlock
existed.
Not having characters of color is a
Well, yeah.
Well, and when you consider the other major modern-day adaptation of the Sherlock Holmes story, Elementary, they do a lot better. There are diverse background characters.
Well, that's true. That's very true. And
BBC Sherlock is overwhelmingly white, and the main players are overwhelmingly male.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's true too.
Which is why I prefer Elementary.
And there could be an easy argument or debate done, the merits of one over the other, whether one is. I haven't watched Elementary, so I don't know if it's more
really
modernized as far as the storytelling, or are they pulling from the books, or are they just using the characters and creating their own scenarios?
They're mostly making their own stories, but the characters is mostly what's been pulled from the original Arthur Conan Doyle. The stories are original.
Oh, okay. So I wonder, my lack of knowledge of the literary works is working against me here on, whether that makes a difference or not. If the BBC version is trying to be more true to the books, then the way they're doing things is causing
but they're
that.
Both fan fiction, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Both fan fiction of the original Arthur Conan Doyle book.
Well, and there's a lot of things that what am I trying to say? There are a lot of things that maybe they don't feel equipped to make that kind of change, and they figure this other one is doing it this way, and that's fine. I mean, you can have both adaptations. Like, I remember when Elementary was a new thing, and a lot of Sherlock fans were like, oh, what are they going to do? And, this isn't going to be any better than BBC Sherlock. Like, how's this going to work? and kind of really running it down. But it's found its fan base, and it's found people who like it, and some of that fan base dovetails from the BBC Sherlock, and they like both because they both have their strengths and their weaknesses. And I think, and that just is because, well, first off, they're done in two very different countries, so they have a very different production team, production schedule. The way that TV is made in the UK is different from the way it's made in the United States and Canada and things like that. And and so like you can find the good and the bad in both. And I think when you when you can enjoy them together, regardless of their flaws and their faults, you find something really, really good and really something that you can enjoy on many different levels. And I think that's great that we have two very different versions of it, two very different interpretations of it, but they still find success, and they still do very well. Like BBC Sherlock is one of the, I know in the United States it's one of the most popular programs on PBS, along with Downton Abbey. And Elementary has had a lot of success on CBS. Of course, CBS, they have a lot of criminal procedurals, which actually find their beginnings in Sherlock Holmes. Like Sherlock Holmes is the definitive probably the earliest literary detective forensic scientist in fictional forensic scientists in literature, and like things like CSI come from that tradition. I'm trying to think all the other CBS shows. They have Criminal Minds, and Castle. Even there's elements of it, of that, and that is just when you think of the mystery genre, you think of Sherlock Holmes, because that is just like that image of the man with the pipe and the deerstalker. Like at the library, to denote the mystery genre, we put this little sticker. Well, we put stickers on our genre books, whether it's romance or sci-fi, fantasy, mystery, whatever. The mystery sticker is a little silhouette of Sherlock Holmes with the deerstalker in the pipe, looking all detective-y kind of a thing. And that's the image you have of a detective in literature. It's kind of, and so that cultural touchstone is just felt everywhere, and no matter how many adaptations it goes through and what interpretations it does, that's what it is. And so that's kind of why I think that no matter who's writing it or who puts their own spin on it, whether they make them male, female, whatever, I think it just, the stories still work, and the stories are just so well done, no matter. Because it comes from really good source material, and I think there's something to be said for that. I love having actual crickets.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Fault. I just know I know our listeners are thinking it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. We do tend to record late in the evening when the crickets are active, so it's You're lucky you're not hearing my cicadas, because they would give the crickets a run for their money. So, but I think you both bring up very good points, and that's one of those things where this may be a good topic for a later show. Listeners, let us know if this is something you'd like us to talk about. But adaptations of books into live action, the pros and cons of sticking to the source material versus being more creative with it for whatever reason. Is that good? Is that bad? Are you indifferent? It depends on the audience, that sort of thing. So
sometimes it's a necessity, like Game of Thrones. They're catching up. But this isn't the Game of Thrones cast right now.
Yeah. But that it's an interesting thing when you're talking about something that is its source material comes from books that were written hundreds of years ago, 100+ years ago. How do you, obviously the Conan's stories were successful. You know, people have loved them for generations and generations. You know, you don't want those stories to get lost in the, you know, the bowels of time, but how do you keep something that is considered a literary treasure relevant for future generations? How do you get them interested in it?
Because I mean, you can assign it for literature class and things, but it's such a different way of writing that we're not used to, and you know, and I think you know, these different adaptations have kept Sherlock relevant, and so people are still interested in it, and so you know, it's a cultural touchstone, and that's how you keep that going, is you retell it over and over for new generations and make it relevant, whether you said it in the past or you said it in the present, or, you know, I'm sure there have been some futuristic Sherlock.
There has.
There's at least one that I
but
know
the Sherlock
of
Holmes
where he
in
was
the
like
22nd.
frozen, and then they recovered his body hundreds of years into our future.
See, there you go.
Oh, okay. So, see, there you go.
I think it's called like Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, if I remember.
Something like that.
Now that you mentioned that sounds familiar. But yeah, and then, you know, there's been young Sherlock Holmes, many different interpretations of that, where, you know, he's at school and he's figuring out how to be this great detective and different things. And there's actually a series by Andrew Lane it's the only young Sherlock Holmes series that is approved by the estate of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So it's actually canonized fanfic, basically. and the first book in the series is called Death Cloud, and it was nominated for a Beehive Award a couple of years ago here in Utah, and it's pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. So and there's 6 books in the series, I want to say. I looked it up on Goodreads before we started. So, and it's all young Sherlock Holmes, and he's at school, and it's his very first case ever, and there's like been a murder, and he has to go solve it, and everyone's just like, oh, you know, silly little boy, go back to school and things. But no, he's really awesome in it. So I highly recommend it.
So we're stuck waiting for season 4, which shall be coming out next year.
Hopefully.
Yeah. If that's what Stephen Moffat has said, but we know all about what the Moff has to say.
Benedict and Martin need to get their schedules together.
Yeah, apparently. They're both very, very, very sought after actors, so that's
can't blame.
It's not that I'm gonna complain, because that's good for them, you know, that they found success outside of, you know, these particular roles, but it is making us wait. But we're supposed to get a Christmas special, and then an actual season. In the meantime, there is supposed to be a unofficial but official Sherlock convention that was supposed to take place, but has hence been postponed. That I think was supposed to take place in London. That the people organizing it are trying to get maximum cast and crew on board for the said convention, so, you know, keep an eye out for that. And then Benedict Cumberbatch is getting a wax figure at Madame Tussauds in England, so
nice.
That's a nice honor for him, which I don't know if I saw a picture of him sitting in for them carving the face. I don't know, once that's complete, if it'll be him or if it'll be him dressed as Sherlock. So I guess we'll have to wait and see when that's unveiled. to find out, I guess, whether it'll be Benedict or Benedict as Sherlock. So, but yeah, I mean you can
or Benedict as Sherlock and the dragon.
Yeah, the dragon head. But yeah, for those of us that are stuck waiting, I mean, there's stuff to tide us over as far as what the cast is doing. Martin's
Elementary, it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, if you want your Sherlock Holmes fix, obviously there's all the movies and TV movies that have been done with other people in the role. You've got Elementary to watch as well. All 3 seasons of the BBC version of Sherlock are on Netflix, so you can watch those. A box set is getting ready to come out as well, so you can buy the box set, which comes with a nice bust of both Sherlock and John.
Nice.
Is a nice little present in the box set, and the box set, I guess, is going to have all the seasons, and I guess the season 3 DVD and DVD Blu-ray, I think, will also have bloopers and stuff, so that should be fun. And then you can obviously, if you want your fix outside of Sherlock, you need your Benedict and or Martin fix. You've got Martin and Benedict. The last part of The Hobbit will be out in November. Obviously, Martin plays Bilbo and Benedict is Smaug. Benedict's got a whole slew of stuff. The movie he's doing, the World War II movie, The Imitation Game, which will also be coming out this year too, which that looks interesting as well. Martin's still doing... Is he doing Fargo? Is he still doing Fargo as well?
I don't know.
The TV series?
I don't follow that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know the first season was done, but I haven't heard anything if they had gotten renewed for a second season or not.
Yeah.
I know they won a few awards, but I don't know. To be fair, I didn't even know Martin Freeman was in it until like a few weeks ago. It was a possible puzzle clue.
Yeah. So if you need your Martin Freeman fix, you've got that. If you are a Mark Gatiss fan, he's going to be on Game of Thrones again. So if you need your Mark Gatiss fix, I guess.
I didn't even know he was on Game of Thrones the first time.
Yeah.
I thought about it.
Listeners, I get my news the same time you do.
Yeah. I only know because I haven't gotten that far in Game of Thrones, but I remember seeing something on Facebook about how Mark's character is going to be back on Game of Thrones. So I haven't gotten that far in Game of Thrones. So
one thing about Elementary that they was sort of connected is that both Lestrade are connected to Doctor Who in some way.
Oh, yes. Do tell.
Because the Lestrade in Elementary is Sean Pertwee, John Pertwee's son.
Nice.
Oh,
I
that's
had heard
right.
And then, of
I
course,
knew he was in
Mr.
it.
Graves was in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
That's right. I remember hearing Sean Pertwee was in that.
Yes. He was Lestrade, who's in Elementary. Lestrade's first name is Gareth, but he's not introduced till the second season.
Now, I remember seeing the commercials for them saying that Sherlock was going back to London. Because the Elementary is set in New York, right?
Yeah, it's set in New York, and then at the beginning of the first season, he goes back to London to help out Lestrade with something.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that Sherlock Holmes as a character is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Nope.
He's
just
firmly entrenched in the media sphere in one way or another.
And just a quick update, Fargo Season 2 is a go, but it's not going to have the same cast of characters. They're going to be doing a time jump. with a whole new cast of characters.
Okay.
Oh.
So you'll have to get
Yep.
your Martin
What are you
Freeman
talking
fix
about?
elsewhere then.
So they're kind of doing kind of like a spin on, like with American Horror Story,
Oh.
Got
from
it.
how what the article I was looking at said.
Different stories each season instead of keeping it
Right.
consecutive.
But I haven't seen American Horror Story, any of those. But I thought they all had the same cast, just they played different characters.
Right.
But I could be wrong.
You're right with that, but they said that it's going to be a whole new cast, and it's going to be and it's going to be set in 1979.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Well, I know really nothing about Fargo.
Yeah.
I know I know the show, and I think it's on Stars? Or HBO?
FX.
FX. I thought it was on one of the premium. Oh well. I don't have cable, so it doesn't matter to me.
This is why the internet's our friend, because hardly any of us actually have cables. Thank goodness Sherlock is also shown on PBS.
Okay.
So,
I do.
that's good.
If anyone loves, all of us do, but this loves Benedict Cumberbatch's voice, it's not on anymore. I think the last episode was about, but this is BBC Radio 4.
Cabin Pressure?
Yes. It's
I'm trying to remember what it was called.
yeah, Cabin Pressure. It's really.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny. Really funny. And
I've heard lots of good things about Cabin Pressure. I haven't actually heard it, but I've heard lots of good things.
it is. I found it a couple years ago, and
Where did you listen to it? Where is it available?
oh, I'm not sure because I downloaded it years. See if I can try to find where you can get it. Sorry, I'm like ill prepared about this. But
When the idea comes to you,
mhm.
you jump.
But Benedict Cumberbatch, I can't talk, plays a character called Captain Martin Creve, and it's so funny to listen to because it's like the opposite of Sherlock Holmes. He's not sure of himself. He tries to be authoritative, and he's not. And the first officer, and I can't remember the actor's name, and I haven't seen him in anything. I know he's on In the Thick of It, but I haven't watched that. And he's what you would expect from a captain to be, but he's first officer because, well, I don't really want to spoil it, but he did something not so nice at a different airline. I'm really being horrible about explaining this.
Well, you
I'm
don't want to
sorry.
spoil it, so
Yeah, and I mean,
fair enough.
Yeah, we can go find it if we want
Oh
to.
yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to see if I can.
Chrissy mentioned, Paul McGann's voice earlier. I'd like to nominate Benedict Cumberbatch's voice for that same list.
I like this list of actors that I could just listen to the voice. Like, they could read a dictionary, and I would buy it. And they're definitely on it.
Oh,
Why
yes.
can't I find...
Google is your friend, I think, in this case. So.
You guys can...
Well, we'll see if we can find it. If it's like on Amazon or something, we'll post a link to it.
Yeah, I think it's on... Like I said, I downloaded... There's, first season, because it was, they did it in... For the most part, in ABC order of, like, cities and towns that they visit or try to visit. It's just a bunch of like a really funny radio that I stumbled upon. I was like,
I'll see if I
I
can
don't
find it myself.
Yeah.
yeah, because my Google is being stupid.
Yeah.
It hates me today.
That's okay.
So yeah, sorry for like just rambling about this.
That's the way we do things around here.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Rambling is our forte.
And when I like the writer of the series, his name is John Benamor, and he plays one of the characters. I love his character. He plays a character called Arthur, who isn't the brightest person alive, but he is so sweet and innocent and truly the saying, ignorance is bliss. It fits in so well. I just love him.
Pardon me. All right. Well,
And
anybody have any final thoughts about Sherlock Holmes? That was terrible. Why did I do that? Don't ever have me do an accent ever again.
I do recommend, if people like watching the older ones, I recommend the Granada ones from the 80s with Jeremy Brett. So that's what got me into Sherlock Holmes many years ago. I caught reruns on PBS. And every time I read the books, it's Jeremy Brett. His Sherlock Holmes is what I picture. So definitely recommend.
I found transcripts of Cabin Pressure and an episode guide, but not the actual episodes themselves. I found a fan site. It's got an episode guide, it's got transcripts, it does not have the actual show.
Ooh.
Sorry. Anyway, continue.
So yeah, that's my recommendation if you want more Sherlock Holmes. And yeah.
Like I said, there's been a lot of adaptations. Chances are, if there's an actor of a certain ilk that you care for, they've probably done Sherlock Holmes at some point in their career. So
I think even Big Finish has their own
Yes.
Sherlock series with Nick Briggs playing Sherlock.
Yeah.
Yes, I've listened to those. Oh, some of them. I like them.
Yeah.
And even Disney has done.
Oh yes, The Great Mouse Detective.
Mm-hmm.
I love. I mean, that's
One of my
technically
favorites.
based off a children's book, but the book and this movie is based off Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the movie, you know, the Basil lives underneath Sherlock Holmes's house.
Yeah.
Like you see the humans like in silhouette every once in a while, and he plays the violin and everything, and you hear Watson arguing with Holmes sometimes. But yeah, that one's very much based on.
And
It's the mouse version of Sherlock Holmes, and he lives at he's Basil of Baker Street, and
It's 221.5 Baker Street.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I will visit there someday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list.
I would love to go to that place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. If you're a Holmes fan, especially the BBC version, you ever find yourself in London, I'm sure there's. I know there's like guided tours that you can do that they'll take you to some of the shooting locations, but some of the locations are pretty obvious, at least where they are. So you can always visit them yourself and say, hey, I stood at this place where Benedict Cumberbatch stood once in this one episode. So the nice thing about it being set in modern day London is, you know, you can walk
All
in
the
Sherlock's
places are in
steps.
modern day London.
Exactly. So
Yeah. You don't know where they film the home. It's not actually at Baker Street because
Yes.
the actual Baker Street in London has so much like Sherlock Holmes paraphernalia.
Well,
Like
the 221B Baker Street is actually a Sherlock Holmes museum.
Yes.
Yep.
So. But the restaurant next door is an actual working restaurant, so you can go and eat there.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently the food is not that good. But you can go there and eat if you like, though. No offense to the people that own the restaurant. I just heard that the food is not that good. But
If you update, I finally, if you want to, you can buy the Cabin Press show on iTunes.
there you go.
It's on iTunes?
Yes.
Well, I'm just going to check that it's actually available on Canadian iTunes because it's not always
The case.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to
Well, you check that, and anybody else have anything they want to add? I know we've been at it for a while. If you're still listening, God love you.
We're getting a pretty long episode.
We're making up for missing a week.
Yeah, we missed a week, so you're getting 2 in 1.
5-ish Fangirls.
Yeah. It's just more of us to love.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about since all our TV shows are coming back.
Yeah, that too.
Yep.
So be prepared.
I don't have time to watch any.
Yeah. And obviously, we'll post links to stuff in the show notes on the blog, and you can find all of our perts on the blog as well, which is the 5-ish Fangirls podcast.blogspot.com. That is a mouthful. But you can find our Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr. You can send us an email for feedback, that sort of thing. There's also a link to our Patreon page. Once again, do not feel pressured to donate. Don't spend money you don't have. But if you feel so compelled, we won't say no. But
so the only
you'll get our undying gratitude and
only Cabin
virtual
Pressure
hugs.
series that you can buy, like the complete series all in one go, is series 1. Everything else you have to buy the individual episodes.
Oh.
Apparently.
And I just realized with this, it's album only. It's saying. So you might have
to buy the whole thing.
Well,
yeah.
But that's like for I don't know about U.S., but here, for Canada, for the series 1, you buy it all in one, all the complete album. But for everything else, it's individual episodes.
Mm.
So. Yeah. Anyway, back on track.
We do the research, so you don't have to.
Yeah. Oh, I was right.
We do have several librarians on this podcast, so you shouldn't expect anything less.
So I'm looking on iTunes, and sorry about getting in that tangent. This I was really good show, radio show. I thought.
Yeah. Good to know. All right. Well, like I said, deets will be in the show notes on the blog, where you can find anything and everything. If we manage to forget something, let us know, and we'll post the link for it. And
send us your feedback if you have any comments or corrections or Well, if you're going to send us mean feedback, we're just going to ignore it. No, we'll read it. We just won't read it on the podcast because this is where the good vibes live.
Yep.
Yep.
But we're more than happy to see your messages come into our inbox. It makes us feel all happy inside. So.
Yeah, we
Get
haven't
back
had
to listen to
feedback
us.
in a while.
Yeah. Send us
And that
feedback.
makes us
We know you're
sad.
out there.
So give us
Yeah.
feedback. Make us happy.
Yeah.
Send
We
us
know-
feedback. Make us happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can tell us we're doing a crappy job if you think so.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Oh.
big girls. We can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We may not like it, but we can take it.
Yeah.
And I think we're all getting a little slap happy in this marathon.
Marathon, yeah.
I said,
We've been at this for
Yeah.
a while.
I said to my husband that, we missed last week and now we're finally get around to doing it, and now we're at, it's turning into a marathon podcast. I said, we should have known this podcast was going to be a problem child considering it's number 13, so we're just going to chalk it up to that. Whether you're superstitious or not, we're just going to chalk it up to it's number 13, so.
Yep, that was it.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
Well, I was in my head that I was thinking that's the reason it got delayed because it was number 13.
Maybe.
Yes.
Unlike a hotel, though, we're not skipping a number, so.
Yep, that's true. Anyway.
All right.
We probably ought to wrap it up because some of you Easterners, you need to get to bed.
Yes.
Oh,
It's past midnight here.
real quick, should I mention my personal news because it might delay us?
Oh yes,
sometime?
that's true. We may.
If you want to pipe in.
Yeah, this because it might cause delays next month. I'm moving back to Florida, so starting next month I won't be in Taos anymore, and let everyone know details when and all that stuff, and hopefully it won't delay us too much.
Yeah.
Or I can just maybe I'll get trapped in the vortex. Hopefully not, but we'll see. Anyway,
Well,
sorry about that.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
The whole podcast got trapped in the vortex last week. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, we better wrap it up so
Yeah.
you guys, so we all can go to bed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow being Monday and all that.
Yeah.
Monday.
Thank you for listening, everyone, and I think we're gonna sign off before we all go crazy.
Yep.
Right. This is Brittany from Charlie saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy from Salt Lake City, and Palm again shook my hand. Told you I was getting touchy.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
This is Michelle from Kitchener, Ontario saying good night.
And this is Rachel from Indianapolis, Indiana. It's raining, it's pouring, Sherlock is boring.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.